McAvoy, Michael Curran, who we mentioned again as well, Paul O'Connor, who I see here today, brilliant to see him, and Roger Coffey. They're not in no order, it's just so I call out a few of them to you. Nurses then played a huge part from the mid-60s on, and well-known personalities there as well, including Kay Kelly, who passed away there a couple of years ago at the ripe age of 98, Ellen Wall, Margaret Lee, Mary Fenlon, Mary Townsend, and Gemma Fitzhenry. Now that's just a few names. There's so many names, and it'd be great to give them all a bit of credit and well deserved. Nurse Mary Healy, former Nurse Mary Healy, only passed away today. God be good to her, and I only got word on that. So just to acknowledge Mary and the great work she did as well. Okay, so we'll get straight into it. Although we now take the ambulance service for granted, little over 100 years ago there was virtually no such service. Sick and injured had to get to hospital in any way that they could. County councils, fire service and voluntary emergency services provided the initial service, having been given very limited training and equipment. Many of the initial ambulances had only a single person crew. Henceforth, once the patient was loaded into the ambulance, no further treatment was provided until they arrived at hospital. And later in the early 60s, it was the Order of Malta who would provide the basic first aid training to the ambulance drivers. And this comes from a really good book that Martin Byrne and Colin Megan produced on the ambulance services and the ambulance vehicles in 2014. It's a fantastic book if you can get a copy of it. It's really good. So, and this is just a collage to start off. You probably recognise some of our current lads here. This is the late Eddie Owens. This is Michael Curran and his beloved wife Bridget, who ran the county home, as far as I know, back in the, basically from the 40s, 50s, right through to the 60s. This is Paul O'Connor, the great Tommy Wogan, the great Paul O'Connor. I heard he's here. The great Jimmy Rogers and the well-known personality Charlie Byrne here. Great to see his family here, and Tommy Wogan and his family is here. Ted Darg and some of his family is here. And Paddy Sweeney, I'm not sure if Mary is here, but I was hoping she might get to it anyway. Martina Kennedy, one of the first EMTs, along with Joan Doug. They would have been nurses originally, but they became EMTs around 1997. They were given the opportunity and they jumped at the chance. Fair play to them. The Bunty Lacey up here with Paddy Sweeney, and this is Roger Coffey up here, and this is the first defib demonstrating it. There's young O'Connor there. And that's the kind of the originals, just to show you, give you names and faces, the whole lot, okay? So anyway, the ambulance service in Carlow seems to date back to the mid-19th century. The Carlow Morning Post in 1864 makes reference to 2 horse-drawn ambulances being used to transport sick and injured people between hospitals in Carlow Town, Tullow and Bagenstown. And the Carlow Morning Post in 1864 advertised on Thursday the 17th instant, it's great the way they worded things back then, the guardians of the above union will receive and consider tenders for 2 ambulances. Particulars of construction and the pattern can be seen in the workhouse. And that was by W.M. Fishburne, the clerk of the Carlow Union in 1864. A few years later, in 1866, a design of a vehicle was prepared and presented at a board meeting by Dr. O'Callaghan. Mr. Andrews argued that it looked too much like a hearse and people wouldn't go into it unless they were dead, it wouldn't matter. So we'll just scroll up along here now, sorry. So we mentioned that there, that was Martin Byrne and Colin Megan's book, which is very good. There's a reference to it at the end of the book. Great work done by the 2 lads. So here you see it. This would have been the kind of horse-drawn vehicle back then, very basic. And basically you just threw them into the back and hoped to be alive when you got to the hospital. So it's very basic stuff. Just to go on up another little bit there. The workhouse ambulance and so on. So just going on a little bit from that, because I'm trying to race through it. In 1896, Dr. Lawson produced drawings of the ambulance. These are a different set of drawings from the earlier set. Produced drawings of the ambulance, which he suggests would be most desirable for the use at the workhouse for bringing patients to the hospital. He considered that the one proposed by him to to be most suitable. On many occasions, the ambulance was the cause of turning a simple fracture into a compound one, which would mean a 6 months detention, whereas a simple fracture would be cured in a week or a fortnight. So there's a lot of emphasis put on having a bit of comfort in the ambulance. But anyway, Captain Thomas, in order to set the ball rolling, proposed that £50 be allowed. Mr. Governey seconded this, and it was passed unanimously. In reply to Mr. Kavanagh, the chairman said that the change in connection with the two ambulances, or the charge in connection with the two ambulances, the one for Bagnallstown and Carlow, will go to the union at large. Just to show you then, basically, here we go. Like, this is the Fever Hospital, where I think the current Sacred Heart Home is now. This would have been kind of this very basic ambulance that would have had at the time. You see the boys with a few drinks and being carried along. And you can see the back of it. Sorry, not you can see it here, but in a later one, then you can see it. Then we have the workhouse as it was up to 1923, when the Irish soldiers after the Civil War took it over. And the nurses and the staff and the patients were shoved out there and sent into the Sacred Heart Home in Barrack Street. You can see the little, whoever did this little illustration is fantastic. You see the little ambulances there, so on. So then, the Master's Report. In 1915, we're gone on a few years now, the Master's Report. Mr. Morrow, Master, reported that a patient named John Kelly, he's here, returned from the Royal Victoria Eye Hospital, Dublin, on the 20th. The ambulance driver being unable through illness to perform his duties, he employed on the 27th Joseph McAvoy as his substitute at the rate of £1 a day, and rations pending the sanction of the board. The request to the Guardians to advertise for coal. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, so the ambulance driver then, you had two ambulance drivers, the first two ambulance drivers. Sorry, now I'll just go on here a little bit. Yeah, Paddy, where is his name there? No, sorry. Yeah, Mr. Hughes said, this is 1924, Mr. Hughes said that they should make the appointment that day. Mr. Joyce said it was impossible to expect the plumber to drive the ambulance. It was proposed that Mr. Hughes, and so seconded by Mr. Brophy and adopted, that advertisement be issued inviting applicants for the position of motor ambulance driver at a salary at the rate of £2.10 per week. That, with the exception of Bagnallstown and Tullow Urban, the house ambulance had been dispensed with, and we consider that the present ambulance driver be dispensed with as well, and the ambulance are sold. That was Joe Fogarty. Joe Fogarty was the ambulance driver between 1899 and 1924, but they were keen to get him replaced with a motorised ambulance and a driver, and he wasn't overly interested in that. So, as I said, in 1924, the post of motor ambulance driver was advertised in the local papers, including the Nationalist. The following then applied for that position of the motor ambulance driver: John J. Teenan from Mountrat, Joe Dwyer from Tullow, he had a run at it, Michael Murphy from Copenhagen, Tullow, Michael Finley from Ratho, Matthew Hughes from Wolf Hill, and William Davis from Knocka, Cree, Castledermot, and John Kelly again, and of course Michael Curran applied as well. Mr. Comfort proposed that Mr. Corkin seconded that the temporary driver, Michael Curran, be appointed as the full-time driver for the first motorised ambulance. Okay, so just show that to you then there. You can see it here. This here is, this was taken in 2012 of a horse-drawn ambulance that was built especially for the 150th anniversary of the Dublin Fire Brigade. And you can see it's a fantastic piece of work. And this is how it would have looked on the inside. So it's very similar spec. Okay, here's the gentleman that we said about. I was trying to read it to you and then go through the presentation here. So 1924, and Michael Curran was appointed for that position. It's not all like this. This is Michael here having a pipe later in life. Great personality, great character altogether. And I said Joe Fogarty would have been the first name that we found in relation to the ambulance service. That was the first drawn from 1899 to 1924. So here we have Michael with his good wife Bridget, and you can see here both of them are serious people. Both of them served in the IRA, and Bridget was in coming them on. And of course, this is Vicky, their daughter, who's I was only talking to her the other day. I took a snap of her last month there. She's in great form, thank God. And 93 or 98, it's great age, fair play to her. So just to mention then, of course, he retired in 1966. Carlow's first ambulance driver, Mr. Michael Curran, and his wife, employees of Carlow County Council for 44 years, retired last week. To mark the occasion, they were presented with a wallet of notes by Dr. Kelly. I'm sure some of you might remember Dr. Kelly. There's photographs of him later. At a social and concert organised by Muntir Natir Guild in the Sacred Heart Home. Okay, so says it here. Mr. and Mrs. Michael Curran have retired from Carlow County, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Curran was formerly an ambulance driver and then took over the position as fitter and boilerman at the Sacred Heart Home. In his earlier days, he was attached to the 4th Battalion Carlow Brigade as an NCO in charge of explosives. Great man to have driving an ambulance. You didn't mess with the money. If he said sit in there, you didn't move. Mrs. Curran joined the coming on and held the rank of captain. So a serious piece of work too, you know. Great people. Then we zoom on up. As Mr. Curran was there into the 1960s, but obviously he was there years at that stage, and they needed a couple extra ambulance people. So in the mid-40s during the war, two gentlemen were employed. One was Roger Coffey. Roger, of course, married Sadie Murphy from 14 Little Barrack Street in June '56, and then he moved to Nina. This is Roger here, and this is his lovely wife here. This is Roger with kind of a Jeep type four-wheel drive type ambulance. Here we have Tommy Wogan and Paddy Sweeney here. Can't get these two names here. Tommy Wogan is here and Paddy Sweeney, but these two gentlemen.
That's Ted Darrington.
Is it Ted? Is this Ted? Ah, great. Yeah, great. Now I have photos. There you go. So that's great to know now. Fair play to you. This is Paddy Sweeney and his lovely wife Noreen in September 1945. Isn't it a great photograph? Fresh faces of them, and he was already in. He had been demobbed from the Royal Air Force, and because he was a little bit older than Tommy Wogan, I think, so he left a bit sooner. So we'll just come back to that there in a second and get through my notes here. I say Roger Coffey and Paddy Sweeney would have been employed as ambulance drivers by Carlow County Council. It was back then who looked after it, as Michael Curran went back to facilities. Okay, and now there's a gentleman by the name of Billy Stafford that was in Wexford, and I think it's important to mention him as well. You'll see a photograph now in a few seconds, and he was in the ambulance service in Wexford, but back then they would have gone out to the outer region, so he actually could have ended up in County Carlow, as mentioned by his grandson. We'll see him now in a few seconds there. It's just, and I see it there. Get my notes then. We go on another bit here. This is him here, actually. This is Billy Stafford, and you can see him there in the 1940s. Now, Tommy Wogan, in his interview with the Midlands Radio, mentioned that when he joined in 1951, that there was two appliances already there. There was a 1944 Dodge and a 1947 Dodge. Hopefully I can get you a seat there. You want to organise a seat there, somebody, that'd be great. So here's Billy Stafford, and as you can see, his grandson, Jason O'Callaghan, said, "My grandfather did 42 years in the service. He was the only ambulance in the county," this is Wexford, for most of his career. Mr. O'Callaghan, former paramedic in Cork City, retired from the National Ambulance Service himself in 2023 and explained, "There was only one ambulance in County Wexford, and he actually covered parts of South County Wicklow, County Carlow and South County Kilkenny. The parts that would have bordered Wexford, he would have gone into those areas too." So that's from the Echo. And you can see, this is something, I'm almost sure is a Dodge, as in it's a limousine type ambulance, okay? So it had the running boards and a kind of a long front and then a boxy ambulance, very similar to that little model there. You see it's very similar kind of structure. Now, in fairness to Tom Hanley, he sent on some photos too of a Dodge, because the Dodges back then that were used by the Order of Malta were possibly ex-military. If you clock in 1944 Dodge, you get this big four-wheel drive kind of tank almost, and they did use them as well, and you'll see photos of it. Here we have Walter Bunty Lacey, Bunty for everyone knew him, and Paddy Sweeney in front of that. This is a Morris ambulance, and we'll talk about that later as well. You can see here the various ads that would have been in the Nationalist in 1952. Carlow County Council appointment of the motor ambulance driver, looking for them people to apply. Here's the Bowel Tommy then. Great photograph. He must have been in bad form that day, but he's in great form in this.
No dinner.
And I just read out a little bit about him here. After more than 40 years service, local ambulance driver, huge personality, Tommy Wogan, has decided to sit back and relax. To be precise, Tommy from Ratnapish has spent 40 years, 7 months, and 2 weeks ferrying Carlow people to and from hospitals all over the country. A native of Dublin, it was only pure chance that Tommy ever moved to Carlow. Back in the late 40s, he was a ground driver in the Royal Air Force in Lincolnshire, where he became friends with a Carlow man, the late Paddy Sweeney, that we mentioned earlier. Paddy was demobbed in 1946 and returned to Carlow, and both men kept in contact. Then one day, after Tommy had returned to Dublin, he was walking down O'Connell Street, and he saw his old friend driving a truckload of bananas. They got talking, and Paddy told Tommy he had just got a job with Carlow County Council as an ambulance driver and was due to start work on January the 1st, 1949. After that, we used to meet regularly in Dublin whenever Paddy was up, and one day he said I was to watch the papers because the council was going to advertise for a second driver. Some months after that, I saw the advert in one of the Dublin papers. The day of the interview came, and we were to be interviewed at the courthouse. It was like last mass on a Sunday. There were hundreds in for the job, said Tommy. So it's fantastic. And there's a copy of that down below. And obviously, the family, if they want that, they're more than welcome to it. And there is free. You can bring it on, which is whoever gets it first. So great personality. It's important too to mention the civil defence because, as Tommy mentioned in his interview in 1991 or 92 when he retired, which is a fantastic interview. If you get the opportunity to hear it, it's really brilliant. He was talking about that basically their job was drivers, and they were to get the person, no matter how bad or good they were, into that ambulance, shove the door, and go straight to the hospital, and that was it. And if they heard a bit of rattle about halfway, they might stop and just check it. Did he fall or she fall out of bed? Otherwise, that was it. So it's very important to mention say, like, for example, the Civil Defence, the Order of Malta. They were huge personalities. This is my wife's grandfather here, Billy McGrath, or Tom McGrath. Billy McGrath was the son, and the old vehicle back then. And this is Mr. James. He passed away a couple of years ago. Loved to dress up. This was taken in the 60s. And here we have an exercise of the lads in the 60s. You can see Billy McGrath mentioned the son of Tom. I think that's Billy there, doing an exercise at the old steel helmets. So there were great lads and ladies to do medical work as well. Then we have, here they are here. There's another one. My father-in-law is here, Frank Archibald. And we'll mention this. That was the same. I think that's the same ambulance that the two lads, were Bunty Lacey and Paddy Sweeney, were standing in front of. You probably might recognise a few people in that photograph. Then we had the Red Cross as well. This is in Tullow. This photograph appeared recently in Tullow Historian's Facebook page here, of taken in Tullow of the lads and ladies there. So you can see even that, this is in the 40s. We had people here that were well trained in first aid, but it was about linking them all up together and that we could give it a really good service. It took a while, really, in fairness. I think this is Mr. Lakes from Bagnallstown. And then here we have members of the Red Cross as well, 1966, 69. Here we have the Order of Malta. These photos were given to me from Lily O'Rourke, who's, I think her father or grandfather was involved in the Order of Malta. And this is taken down Dublin Street, isn't it? Yeah. So fantastic for all the ladies. And all these girls were fantastic first aiders, really good, really very good at their voluntary, which is gas. Donald Godfrey took this great photograph as well of the Order of Malta. So it's important to mention them as well, they're great people. This photograph here was given to us by Tom and Jim that are here today. And we were talking about the Dodge 1944, 47 type Dodge. So I can't figure out if the Dodge that was bought by Carlow County Council in the 40s was one of these type Dodges, or was it that saloon, that other one. So this is Carlow's Order Malta. This is the late great Con Breen as well, who was organised, involved in the Order Malta as well. This photograph came from Lily O'Rourke as well, and that's actually the Carlow's own Jeep here. Here we have William Dunny, who formed the Order Malta in Carlow in the 40s. And there's Jim there looking very well, and John English and the lads. Great picture. I think this photograph was taken by Tom Sunderland, and I think that portrait was taken by Tom Sunderland as well. Here we have this. It's not overly very clear, but you can see Dr. Kelly. He had a huge part to play in running the medical side of the ambulance service way back. This here is one of the nurses. It's important to mention all the nurses as well. This lady unfortunately passed away back in 1963, Ellen Ann Walsh. But you can see she had put 40 years of her life nursing in hospitals in County Carlow. She died very young at age 62, so it's important to mention her as well. There's Joni Curran, who would have been a daughter of Michael and Bridget Curran and some of her colleagues here. Their names are there. The eyes are not great. Margot, Kathleen and Joni in 1951. Great photograph as well. In 1967, they were fitted with radios, finally. They got radios into the ambulances. Here's Mr. Curran, as we mentioned, Joni's dad here. And he passed away in 1969, unfortunately. But good age, 79. Okay, and again, it mentions he was employed by Carlow County Council for over 40 years, up to his retirement 2 years ago, and was ambulance driver with the County Council for a long number of years.
So, sorry, on that, with the when the radios were fitted, they were actually Pi radios.
Oh, okay.
And Mary actually has the handbook that the call signs for all the different ambulance drivers had their own call signs.
Oh, very good.
Found it at home today.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. So this is a piece of gear here. One of our colleagues brought in, Billy Brown brought it in there. It's an old type suction. That could have been from this. Well, if they start doing medical stuff around kind of mid 60s, it must be mid 60s or 70s. Mad looking thing, isn't it?
And the other thing with the radio as well, Paul, when Dad had to be home, that time phones were a bit dodgy. So he'd bring the ambulance in and drive it up to the door, leave the doors open and turn up the radio. Yeah. Leave every door in the house open so he could actually hear it.
Very good. Now, as you say, this is actually a safe Driving Awards, 1964. I don't know if any of you remember Mick Byrne. I think he lived in Barrack Street. These are council workers, but there's a couple of they're all council workers, but you can see, I think that's Paddy Sweeney there, or one of them is Paddy.
Paddy Sweeney's there with your fingers.
There.
No, there.
Yeah. Is that, who's that man? He looks familiar to me. I can't figure out who it is. And there's Mr. Wogan, and there's Edward Dargan there, looking good. And the lads, they're all, I know this man because when I started in 86, believe it or not, 100 years ago myself, he was still working, or he was just about to retire.
The man in front of Daddy there is actually a Kinsler man.
That's right, yeah.
This man here, yeah, that's right, very good, yeah.
Councillor.
Yeah, that's I recognise it, yeah, great head of hair.
Yeah.
It's got the way you remember Peter, because they've good heads of hair. There's the three lads again, holding good and close there, and there's himself up there beside the clock watching it, waiting for a coffee break. Then we have this lady, Catherine Kelly, who passed away a couple of years ago. Remarkable life as well. And she worked on the ambulance service there. And I just read a little bit about her, if that's all right. And how are we doing in time? Yeah, grand, okay. So my notes are kind of all over the place here now. Yeah, sorry, there we go. A couple of days ago I was heading to the camera exchange looking for a second-hand camera. I'm always looking in the shopping centre to pick up a second-hand camera, and a lady by the name of Nolene Connell called me as I was walking in. Are you Paul Curran, the chap who was doing the talk on the ambulance service? I am. I said, Nolene. I said, and Nolene then said, my mother Kay used to be on the ambulances. And I said, no way. And the story flowed then, and it was a good one, worth noting. Catherine Kelly, niece Scanlon, originally from Kilrush, County Clare, was born in Ross's Point Lighthouse. Her dad's family were all either lighthouse keepers or ship pilots. Her mother's side were farmers, blah, blah, blah. Her dad sadly passed away when she was only 4 months old. The family were separated, then dispersed to different families, which was normal, as you know, back then. A big Catholic family, you know yourself. A normal thing in those days, they would be together a few years later, though. They all got together later on. And though she had a lovely childhood, when she looked back, growing up in Kilrush, wanted to be a teacher when she grew up, but she couldn't comprehend the maths as not her strong point, and settled on becoming a nurse, which was a good move. Anyway, not to go through the whole thing, Kay served at Manchester Hospital in the war years. More grief here. She lost her sweetheart and his dad at the Dunkirk evacuation in 1940. She treated casualties of the Blitz bombing of Manchester. They had the London Blitz in 1940-41, which went on, I know, for a few years. But in Manchester, they also bombed Coventry and all these places. And she treated people with ferocious injuries, as you can imagine. She also treated miners who had been hurt in collapsed mines, broken backs and burns, were some of the common injuries to deal with her. And just a couple more lines then. Her beloved mother passed at home in Ireland, but she wasn't allowed to go because the matron said she couldn't spare her to go home. So she didn't actually get to the funeral till after, which was heartbreaking. And further training in 1955 as a public health nurse in County Meath. Later again, she arrived at the Nuke in Pembroke, delivering babies, some even in ambulances in County Carlow. So just a remarkable woman as well. Lived to be a great age, took on a degree along with Margaret Lee in her 60s, and which was a fair achievement. As I said, she was a Republican through and through, and married a blue shirt, which was unusual, leading to many interests and discussions over the table. She won a tractor in 1992, making the Nationalist newspaper. She was climbing ladders to the distress of her family at the age of 91, pulling down ivy in a gale force storm, wondering what was the concern as she could hold on to the ivy stalks. Another time, Kay wanted to use a chainsaw to cut some old fencing, and that had to be stopped before there was, you can imagine discussions over the table there. She broke her leg at 95, slowing her down a bit, and in recent years she had beat COVID as many times as 3 times, and sadly at 98, remarkable age, she passed away. Heroic life well lived, wouldn't you think? So it'd be great to read every one of the stories. They're fantastic, but we'll kind of go through. There she is on her wedding day, Margaret and Pat Lee in 1963. Sorry, this is Margaret and Pat, this lady here, who did her degree with her. Margaret was also worked on the AMS as well. Kay Kelly and Margaret receiving their degrees. Okay. Here we have again, I mentioned this again, Walter Bunty Lacey and Paddy Sweeney with a Morris LD ambulance. And this is a better shot of it here. You would have saw that at the back of remember the civil defence lads were marching on the streets there, you could see it. Jim Nolan was a temporary driver that stood in as well. And this, I took this a couple of weeks ago, called over to the house to meet a lovely man and his wife. This is Ted Dargan's paperwork, basically. It doesn't say what age he was when he was joining. So I think it's 1967 weekend, and so that's the way they would have filled up their wages. And that's cool, Sacred Heart Home. 1972, we're going up a few years. Here you have Jimmy Rogers here in the photograph. Do you recognise anyone else in that? Well, they'd be from all over the country now, but just anyone. The names are here anyway, but I think the rest were from all over the place. But all right, this is a different photograph here. Graduation photograph, 1972. John Kennedy. John Kennedy was in the army service for a couple of years as well, between 1970 and 1976, and there he is there. He was here. There he is here with Father Willie Byrne there, and this is his good wife here, Connie Kennedy. All right. So John served from 1970 to 76. This is his actual shoulder patch at the time. He did 9 weeks training in Dublin. Got home for 2 weekends in the 9. A lot of his work was 24/7 on call, based out of Sacred Heart Home. Slept there when on call, as did Tommy Wogan and all the lads, and Ted Dargan, because he was from Bagenstown, so he was really, he couldn't get home. As you said, Tommy could snake up and get a bit of dinner, and it was grand. So John worked with the following, the great personalities: Charlie Byrne, Tommy Wogan, Jimmy Rogers, Paddy Sweeney, and Ted Dargan. And now there's loads of nurses, but the ones that Margaret Kennedy, John's daughter, mentioned, nurse at the time included Nurse Kenny and Nurse Townsend, Mary Townsend. And the info, to be fair, is from the Kennedy family and Ger Houlihan, Margaret's husband. Then we have the private ambulance service in Ireland. This is important too because, you know, they were under pressure for a while. We haven't today a lifeline ambulance as far as I know, but back then various personalities were called in to give a hand with, you know, if they were under pressure or whatever. So private ambulance service in Ireland, again, this is from Martin Byrne's book and Colin Megan's book. The history of the private ambulance service is similar to its counterparts in the public health ambulance services, equally unrecorded. Despite research, much of the information gained on the early private ambulances has been through interview, as very few documents exist in respect of this part of the ambulance service. We'll come back to that. There is other photographs. This is an old civil defence ambulance that was in the council yard. I took that myself. And this is an older one. You'll probably see the model of that. Bedford, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so we go on up then. Carlow matron, as you know, the matron's Sister Vianney. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of her. Seated here on the left, a picture with family members at the Sacred Heart home in 1978. A lot of these photos are from the Nationalists, in fairness, from the, and Carl McDonough and Willie Dooley and the various photographers as well.
One of the things John Kennedy did when he was an ambulance driver was he taught Sister Vianney how to drive.
Oh, good.
She was mortified when he told her to lift her skirt.
Purely because it was catching on the pedals.
Okay, that's brilliant. Here's Ted Dargan, ambulance officer, 1953 to 1981, is presented with a wallet of notes, silver tankard and a tray by Dr. Kelly at Bethany House, Carlow. Also in the photo is Lachlan Nolan. As far as I know, Lachlan is not overly well now. I could be wrong on that, but I think he's not well. I love him. Madge Dargan is here as well, of course, and Sister Immaculata, the matron's Sacred Heart of Home. I think she took over from Sister Vianney, so great personalities as well. Great picture as well. Here's the three, or the four lads together. Great picture. Carl McDonough took that. Tommy Wogan, Charlie Byrne, Ted Dargan, and Paddy Sweeney. They were great people. Great personalities. And here we have them with a couple of other colleagues. Who's that, sorry?
He was the ambulance controller in Wexford, the man on the left-hand side looking up.
This gentleman?
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
Yes, Andy Carty, that's him.
And here we have Michael Darcy, who came on the scene then as well. Great personality. He passed away only recently as well. God be good to him.
And between Jimmy Rogers and the man in the uniform, he was a Stafford man from Wexford. He was a driver in Wexford. And the man between him and the last man on the top was a brother.
This Stafford man?
Yes.
Is that the man that was in the photograph earlier, no?
I don't think so.
No, it might be his son, because there was 3 or 4 generations, because he looked fierce well if he was around these lads are around the 40s too, I suppose. So tributes were paid to Carlow ambulance driver Edward Dargan, who retired recently, 1981, at the Carlow Local Health Advisory Committee's Monday, whatever. John McNally, MCC, reverted to the dedicated service of Mr. Dargan, who had been in the ambulance, had been an ambulance driver first with Carlow County Council, then with the South Eastern Health Board in total for 29 years. And Mr. McNally described him as one of the finest servants of the people Carlow ever had. And it's great to be spoken like that of. And all those gentlemen were remarkable, as were the nursing staff at the time. Here we have Paddy Sweeney then again, and his good wife, should be there. Yeah, Paddy Noreen. And he did 40 years as well, from the war years all the way up to 1993. Huge personality, it's great to see it there. And it's the same collage there, it's just a bit more colour in it. Poor old Eddie Owens passed away in 2000, a great personality as well. This is then, do you remember we mentioned the external ambulance driver? Sorry, the slide is a bit, there's some crop of hair, isn't it? Matty Cannon with his wife Elizabeth here, and Michael Mahan and Val, a son of I think Charlie is here. Are you here, Charlie?
Yeah.
There you go. Nice and quiet. So, is Val here?
Yeah.
Put up your hand, where are you? Good man, Val, down in the back there. Oh, down there in the dark. You're still in the dark.
On Matty Cannon,
Yeah.
there was an extra room in the old Sacred Heart home where the ambulance drivers used to stay, and Matty used to store all his spare parts in there for his open cars, engines, new tyres, wheels. You could change out an engine in
It's a thing, because Roger Coffey was the very same. And I'll mention that when I get an opportunity there. Roger Coffey was the same. He could have a whole car in bits under the bed. Because the matron had gone up one day, because Tommy Wogan, your dad, had said it in the interview. She said, what's going on under that bed? And she lifted it up, expecting Anton to jump out front. There was half a car under there. You know? He was a gas man, great. And he was also, Tommy had said that he was, he loved making cockpits out of the ambulances, like, you know, like a Boeing 747 or something. Have all these switches, and Paddy and Tommy would be in there, so, well, we pull it and see what happens. That was brilliant. So this is Paddy again, great picture here. All well-known personalities. Paul, where's Paul? Is there? Look at him there, isn't he a chap? Yeah. Paul O'Connor, at the back there you have Paul O'Connor, John Hogan and Eamon Conway from Kilkenny, Ted Dargan, again, Lachlan Nolan, the chief, Tommy Wogan, Michael Darcy, Charlie Byrne, and Jim Nolan. You saw the colour photo of him earlier. And at the front, I don't have all the names here, but you have Paddy and Noreen here, obviously, and their daughter Mary, and the husband. Is it John or Joe? John Gagan. Yeah, great picture. Carl McDonough took that. Anyone know who this gentleman is? John Joe Dooley. Yeah. May I write that down now? That's good to know, yeah. There's Tommy again, and he's fully... that was the thing about him, and he always wore... You tell me, he always wore his uniform. He always wore...
There was no such thing as a uniform. Like, Ted Dargan there in his suit.
Yeah.
It turned into working suit, shirt and tie, but then...
As soon as he got it, he couldn't get him out of it.
First the uniforms came.
Yeah, a great picture again. And there's... I called over the other day to St. Leo's to get a few names and photographs, and Sisters Immaculate and Sister Emmanuel were there. The two of them, great personalities. There is another photograph of them. Here's Tommy anyway with Molly on his retirement. Big smile on his face again. Here's all the characters again. Great personalities. Joe O'Brien. Is Joe here? No? Might be. Yeah. I mistakenly thought Joe had retired. He hadn't, and I appreciate that. I was going through a list. I was on KCLR the other day, and I was racing through to get all the names out, and they were going. You know, I had him down as 2023, but it's still 2023. But that he retired, but he's not. He's
I only met him actually not that long ago.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a great photo there. It's a lovely big cat. Make you hungry, wouldn't it? Great photograph. There's with all the family, all the gang. Great to see us all there. This is a great picture as well. A few more names on this. Don't have all the names, but you have, at the back you have Johnny Hogan, Billy Ryan, both from Kilkenny, Michael McGrath from Kilkenny, Gemma Fitzhenry, another one of the great nurses, Jimmy Rogers, of course, Mick Darcy, Charlie Byrne, and Joe Houlihan at the back there. And the front then you have Deirdre Ammons. Now I think there's only one name in that, I apologise for that. Where are you, Deirdre? Give us a wave, where are you?
She's there somewhere.
Oh, there you are. Great to see you. Is it two M's or one M?
One.
Two M's or one M in Ammond? One. Sorry about that. I have you down as two there. Sorry about that. And Lachlan Nolan and Mary Strong from Burris.
Yeah.
And Declan Lanigan. And a great picture. It was Martin Gurry is here. He has had all these photos and he gave them to me a couple of years ago before COVID to scan, which is brilliant. Martin, we gave them back to him there, of course. There's Joe and Charlie and poor old Eddie. And Rita Mulcrone, God be good to her, yeah. And Michael Kelly that passed away last Christmas there as well, and Eddie Owens. Great, just all great people, absolutely, you know. Mary Townsend and Joe O'Brien and Patricia Ralph. Mary here? Where are you, Mary? I can't. Glad to see you. And poor old Sean Heffernan, great crack. He was a great personality. He passed away too, God be good to him. Then we have Mick Darcy, Charlie Byrne and Jimmy Rogers. Not a great picture. Some serious discussion going on there now. Yeah, serious discussion. And then we have at the back, Brian Power. How are we doing? I'm trying to get through this. Back, Brian Power, Gemma Fitzhenry, Mary Menton and Joe O'Brien. And at the front we have Michael Darcy, Patricia Ralph, Mary Townsend, Deirdre Ammond, with two M's, sorry about that, and Jimmy Rogers, great part. Carl McDonough took the photograph, brilliant picture as well. And that's the same day with a few extra people in it there. Then here we have, this is a good one too, you have the defib is very common today, but back then it was a big deal to get when there were crazy money. But I'm in the fire service, you know, like we've saved a few lives with them as well, but can't hold a torch to you crowd. Amazing. So at the back there, or sorry, at the front, you have Jimmy Rogers and Gemma Fitzhenry demonstrating with Dr. Woods, watched by line President Frank Lanigan. At the back, you have Charlie Byrne again, Mick Darcy, the Reverend Bishop Ryan, Bishop of Kildare and Loughlin, Kathleen O'Rourke, Happy Hearts, John O'Donovan from the Lions Club, Reverend Nigel Sherwood from Tullow, and Eamon Conway, ambulance supervisor. Great pick by Carl. Here we have poor old Paul. He looked shook there. Where are you? Just Paul, in fairness, you've aged well. You look better now. Paul O'Connor there, Mary Townsend, Patricia Ralph, Mary Grogan, and Sean Heffernan in 1993, 30 years ago. God. There's more personalities. You have Jimmy Rogers there, and Sister Immaculata with Mick Darcy and Tommy Dunn. Who was Tommy Dunn? Sorry, now, was he a chap in the hospital, or anyone ring any bells? No. This photo would have been taken. They were showing the ramp on the ambulance as well there. Billy Brown. Is Billy here? Yeah. Come on, Billy. And there he is there posing, nice and pink. And Charlie Byrne, as you can see, they're finished up in 2000. This is something going on here, was it? You were pretending there was somebody in it, or what were you practicing? That's a great picture. Brilliant. Yeah, Charlie there had 33 years service in the AMS and retired in 2000. Huge personality as well. Great. Everybody knew Charlie. Great man. This photograph is in, I only found this one yesterday, it was in the Watford News. And you can see Jimmy Rogers here. And Eamon Jones, who is coming up from, great to see you, Eamon. Fair play to you to come up. I was only talking to Eamon, geez, you had some great stories yesterday. I'll try and get through them if I have the time. Here's probably the first two. I think possibly the first, these girls were nurses originally, and brilliant nurses, but the opportunity came in 97 that they could train up as EMTs, which is brilliant because men and women, not just drive ambulances, but to treat the casualties now as well, which is how much has come on in leaps and bounds in recent years, and great personalities as well. Pat Walsh and Martin Gorey sort of pausing there. Aren't you, Martin? Where are you? Martin gave in that one there to me. There's Charlie again. Poor old Charlie passed away in 2004. God be good to him. Great personality. A great picture by, I think, Carl McDonough. He looks well there now. And Tommy Wogan and Jimmy. And here he is now more recently in 2016. He was saying, how do you know I finished up in 2016? Well, there you go. You did. Martina Kennedy, Paul, of course, and Joe O'Brien in 2016. Brilliant pictures, two great pictures. Michael Darcy then as well. He finished up in 2000 with 22 years service. And there's the bold Tommy again. And sadly, it's when he had passed there in 2003. Huge loss to the community. Huge loss. And here we have Jimmy, who's sadly gone as well, Jimmy Rogers. Another great personality as well. These are great people, absolutely. And there's Jimmy working away there, sorry, kind of it. But some of my colleagues there and fire service. We have a great relationship with the guards and more importantly with the ambulance service, tremendously strong relationship. And we get on really well with them all. So that's great. We've competed in competitions and the ambulance lads trained us up with our medical. Great picture as well. Michael and Jimmy visit President McAleese there. Or more importantly, President McAleese visits the two lads. Jimmy then retired after 35 years service in 2005, and there he is with Sheila. I saw Sheila. Sheila's here, aren't you, Sheila? Yeah. Fair play to you. Great for you to come along. And here he is with all his colleagues, Mick Darcy and Joe O'Brien, all the characters. Billy Brown, the bold Billy in his jumper. And Mick Kelly there with Martina and Jimmy Rogers. Is Martina here? Yeah. Oh, fair play to you. You haven't aged a bit. You must have gone in at 6 or something. You must have gone in at 6 years of age or something. And here's, this is the photograph I got in St. Leo's the other day. I called in. We had a fire call in St. Leo, or in the Mercy a couple of weeks ago, and sure, we fell out of place with, not with drink, but with cheesecake. And yeah, it was great. They were so good. Young Curran, sit down. So Sister Emmanuel O'Sullivan, Jimmy Rogers, of course, Sister Immaculata, and Sister Nancy McLaughlin. And as far as I know, they told me that Sister Nancy is still alive and well, thank God, which is great. Yeah. The Munster Express then had this picture, which is, this is, what's this story? But Jimmy G, isn't it? Jimmy G. Christy G, sorry. I must find it. This man was another great character. Dungarvan, man. You told me the story yesterday. It's so good.
And the horse.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying that the both got set wages. He got set wages, and the horse that they call G, he got set wages.
You used to go up for the beds from the boiler.
Yeah.
And Christy had a horse. And the horse was called G.
Mm.
Christy was Christy G.
Yeah.
But both of them got checks. Christy G.
Yeah. Brilliant. I just said in touch yesterday with a former Southeastern Health Board ombudsman, Eamon Jones, that you just mentioned. There he is there, and he had heard me on the KCLR, and he was talking about just to name a few names. You recall working with Tommy Wogan. Isn't that amazing?
And see, that time our team,
yeah,
and all the patients used to come to our team that time with the clinics.
Mm.
Tommy would come down on with the minibus and all that. And if we were short, say if I had a job to do, Tommy would always come off with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the job when he's waiting on the patients, like when you get up to 4 o'clock in the evening.
Amazing.
So, and then he would cover a lot of Indrum ground, all in Carlow here.
Yeah.
And I just all the lads, and wonderful place.
You mentioned a very good point too. You said we were more than drivers, we were bereavement counsellors. Charlie Byrne always asked when he was travelling to the clinics in Waterford, where is young Eamon? Well, there you are there now. We were brothers, and that's great to hear. We even had a good relationship with all the fire service and the guards and so on. And it's amazing. But yeah, the whole thing of, you say, back then going to a call and someone might have passed away, and the way you stepped in and dealt with the people of Harper, they were absolutely devastated, and it's a fair achievement to all of us.
Some of the ambulance people that were taken around that East time were also working in the fire brigade.
Yeah, sure. One of them was here, Billy Brown. Billy was a fireman as well, yeah. Christy G, anyway, just to say, from Ballantaylor, Christy G, the entire locality has been deeply saddened by the death of the late, great Christy G. He had tremendous service. He had 47 years or something. Yeah, which is amazing, after a period of illness. Huge personality, and just to acknowledge him as well. Sorry, I know it's quite dark in here, isn't it? Anyway, there's Christy G there. Just to mention him there. There he is there in that picture. It's not a great picture, no, I appreciate that. And is he in the, there he is there with his wife and family. So, and then even Mael Lanigan, the matron of Waterford Regional Hospital, and Jack Tierney. You had mentioned all the Tierneys, the 3 generations of Tierneys had provided an ambulance service there in Wexford. So just the same as Carlow, like great personalities, all of them, and there should be books wrote about them, in fairness, all of them. We go on here then. Is this Dr. Nunn? Was in that term of Martin Griffin, Gunner from... yeah, there you go. So we yeah, so it was important to mention them all. Then some of them won awards then for bravery and down in Waterford as well. There was 3, but there was a 4th person that died on the scene or something. He died not long after. So then New Ross there, some of the personalities in the ambulance service in New Ross there. They got long service awards there. Dan Walsh and Ben Mulhall and Jerry Mulhall and John Crispin, John Marr. And Matt Merrigan was from SIPTO, or Matt. Just to mention the rest of them, then there's Nicky Glynn that took. Where's Martin there? Martin mentioned he said of Nicky that he's an absolute gentleman, a great ambulance chief, which is great to hear. Here's some more. I didn't realise this is the same gentleman. As I said, who's this? James Keeley, and he said right, and then it was. Anne Murphy said, who's this? And I says, that's James Keeley. And I says, oh, It's a few hours between the two pictures, but yeah. And here, these are photos I took myself in 2017. It's hard to believe it's so long, 6 years ago, pre-COVID of the lads at the time, Joe O'Brien and Danny and John Doyle and so on in 2017. And Cathal Foley, of course, as well. This is some more Peter Reynolds and Martin Byrne. Martin's here as well, and Joe O'Brien in the service. They've got a new facility now, which is great. This is a great picture as well of some of the staff. They have Martin Gorey, Danny Doyle, who's now in a tie, Martina Kennedy, Andy Power, Martin Byrne, Anne Murphy, Anthony Byrne, who's now in Kilkenny. I don't know if he was ever in Carlow, but he's based in Kenny, I think. Jim Keeley, Derry O'Toole, Peter Reynolds, who's now in Bottenfast 2017. And this is Alan Owens here having a chat with the lads. And that's Derry, isn't it? It's Derry. It says, this is Martin on top of the world, and Dave Adamson, and Bernie Nugent here with Peter. This is a more recent photo then, a great picture as well, 2020. Sean Dillon, Jason Doyle, Martin Byrne, Derry O'Toole, Joe O'Brien, Martina Kennedy, Martin Gorey, and Anne Murphy. And that's myself with the white head. Jason Doyle, Martina Kennedy, Dave Kelly, now in Leash, and myself. And that's just some of the lads there. You showed we have a good relationship, we work well together. It's a call, it's not too serious, I wouldn't put that in bad, it's just showing the lads all working together. Martina, Linda, and Terry there, Terry Fitzpatrick. Was Linda's second name, sorry?
Meehan.
Linda Meehan, yeah. Martin there, between jobs. And some of the AMSs, there's the, it's kind of collage. There's Martina a year ago. You could have been last week, she had the chance of it. And this great picture of the three of them with Carl McDonough. Oh Lord, what's gone off there now? Sorry. And the late Michael Kelly, he passed away on the Lord, what's going on? How do you get out of that? Sorry, no, I don't know what's going on with this.
Just back on your slide. Just touch back on your slide.
Here?
I'll go over or the slide itself.
Up to the picture.
The picture in the background, Paul.
Oh yeah, sorry. Grand, thanks. God, there's experts. Yeah, sorry about this. The remote wouldn't work. I was like a lunatic earlier on here. This is why he's not here. Poor old Mick, yeah. And then we have coming on scene more recently, we have the first responder groups that do great work. So we have one in the fire service as well. This is Ted Dargan's granddaughter, I think, is here today. Which is great to see the connection there. It's great to see it and the various personalities back then. Current staff then, just as in earlier on in the year, these are some of the current staff that are in the ambulance service based in Carlow. Some of the lads, again, working alongside the ambulance service. Joe there with Martina. And I think that's it. I don't know what happened with that one. Yeah, that's it. So that's the end of that. No. Oh, we're good.
Well done on time. I'll let you field a few days, if that's all right, and then I'll do a thanks.
Yeah, if you want to switch on the lights there, we can actually see your face. First of all, thanks again for coming along. It's an absolute great turnout, it really is. I know you must be fierce warm. They must be afraid there's going to be a break-in because they couldn't get the windows open. I think the middle one is open a little bit. But lovely to have you all come along and hopefully enjoy that. If any of you want any of those photographs, if you want to leave me an email, I can email you any of the photos you want. Is that okay?
If you want to ask us any questions or
any very basic questions like what time of the night it is, I can take it. It's okay. I don't have any questions.
I don't know whether it happened for other families, but in Carlow was kind of a unique thing. It was a call for anything. The ambulance would go, but the nurse that was on call was in her own office.
Yeah.
We had a lady here in Carlow, she was called Nurse Colin, and a little shop over there in the entire road. I often remember my dad saying, go down with the blues on. Mrs. Daughter knocked the door, right on me, she said, you go around playing the chickens, and I lock up the shop. And he says, you were standing outside running chickens into a hen house, while the ambulance was outside waiting and somebody lying on the road.
Brilliant. Oh no, and I can't stress enough. Like it seems to be that the nursing staff were remarkable. They really were. And you just take Kay Kelly as an example. Look at what she'd seen in her life, like, and all the nurses equally saw as much. Like, it's just really you'd want hours, a couple of hours to go through the whole presentation. There was something that I just said about your dad, and that was funny. He had one story. Well, the stories that came out were just brilliant. But if I could find it. He was on, yeah, sure. He was out at a call. Sure, my memory's not that bad. He was out at a call in the back of the sticks somewhere, and there was just got distracted there. Sorry. In the back of the sticks, anyway, there was this lady had fallen down the stairs, or she was up the stairs or something. And Tommy said she was the tallest woman. Now, he was a tall chap, like, the tallest woman that she had ever seen, or he had ever seen. And he had such a job trying to get her down. And she says, sure, go get me ass. And he said, what? Go get me ass. He's around the back. And he went around the back, because it was only him in the ambulance. Like. And they bring her around with the ass and cart and put her, how he managed it to bring, maybe the husband was there. But she was...
Hooked the cart on he lay up against at the door and brought her to the door and turned her backwards.
Lay her on it.
Let her lay on it, back on it, then he put it down and hooked the donkey.
Yeah.
Brought it up the
Because it was a driveway.
And that's amazing. Like the stories, I'd say, the stories that you couldn't repeat would be the best ones.
We wind up and let people mingle and stories of all them. They were terrific men.
Oh, they were, absolutely. Oh, there's no... I remember them myself, like I said, I'm in it since 86, and I remember your dad, and I remember Charlie Byrne. I remember, everybody remembers Charlie as well. And Mr. Dargan, I didn't know, I can't say I'd seen him. I remember Michael Darcy as well. And of course, Jimmy Rogers was a neighbour from Mashgrove, so I'm from Mashgrove.
Dad had a rule to come at home. The phone was at home in our house, not the answer. But when the phone had rang, it always go like. We often remember at Christmas. Because many to Christmas, he'd sit down and he wouldn't even get to fork. Late, he'd be gone. But what I used to say to us is, you don't know who it is on that road. It could be your best friend, it could be your neighbour, it could be my friend. It could be any of us.
Yeah.
It was never a job.
No, they were.
All them lads are great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Judy Kenny was a name that came up at home in our house.
Yeah.
You don't remember hearing anything about her, Paul?
Sorry?
Judy.
Kenny.
I did actually, yeah. Nurse Kenny is mentioned, yeah. Sorry.
Very often sat outside the
You can see my notes. Just trying to. I had mentioned just today Mary Healy had passed away, and there was another nurse, Maura Mooney. Does any of you remember Maura?
What's the name?
Maura Mooney from Beechwood Park. Is that? Yeah.
Here's one story. We went to Monaghan in the car with Dad.
Yeah.
He went to meet an ambulance driver called Big Mick. And in Monaghan, we all ended up on the roof of the General Hospital in Monaghan on a tour, Big Cross. Also on the roof of the hospital in Monaghan to show us the landscape of Monaghan.
Amazing, yeah. They were just remarkable.
Can you listen to that interview with Tommy anywhere?
Well, I know as I don't know if it's online, but the Tommy's.
No, it was an interview Dad done in Mexico radio.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, I had the tape at home. And I went to a good neighbour of mine at the back. Say what the she's Jared. I went to Jared and I asked her would it be possible to put it on CDs. So Jared kindly done it for me. So instead of give it to my kids and Michael's sons and James's kids as well, so they could listen to it. But it is a terrific.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try and get you a copy.
If you still have a copy of the CD, we can put it.
Oh yeah, well I have it. I have an audio. I have the audio. I was listening to it the other day. I laughed my head off listening to it. And especially with the earphones, you think he's beside you. Like it's just amazing. But first of all, and just explain to you, it's not like this stuff goes into a press and it's forgotten about. I give this. We have an archivist, Louise Kennedy, and John Shortle is in the library. All the stuff that I've done over the years, and the Historical Society in general, It's not about putting it. It's sad that people put stuff
Away.
under a bed or in an attic. Like, especially like years ago, fair enough, a photograph was everything because you couldn't copy it. You had to go and do it professionally and it cost you a fortune. Today, you just scan a photograph in seconds. So there's no need for anybody to keep anything, and there's such history out there. It's just local history. Like you have in a couple of years' time, you have the anniversary of the 100 years of Sugar Fashion. Great piece of work in that. You have Braun and Lappel, 50 years.
One funny story. Yeah. But when Dad was taken to the hospital, we went out and to the ambulance see him off. And the way of Dad, like he said to the carriage driving the ambulance, I think she's here. He said, "You're creating a little bit of history now, you know that, And we were all looking at Dad, like, saying, what's going on? This will be the first time he says, I ever went to Kenny backwards. He was there, I can say one more story for him. He was in ICU in Kenny, and he wasn't well. I said I'd go in and visit him, and I met the nurse at the door, and I asked her, "They're okay? Can you see my dad?" And he says, "Who's your father?" I says, "Tommy Wogan." "Oh, right." "Yeah, he's over there." I thought she was kind of a bit cross or a bit upset. I went over to Dad, I was chatting to Dad, and I said, "Dad, I think the nurse is on his best of all." "No," he says, "he's left me over here at the bedroom." And she was looking at his files, and she asked Dad, "Have you been here before, Mr. Bowen?" And Dad said, "Oh, I have, yeah." Any idea when did you get in there? Probably 700. She pricked his spine. And she said to Dad, said, "Trying to have a silence wall with the 6 or 7 you're flying missing." I said, don't worry about it. She said, "You're okay. No," she said, "we need to get the rest of your file." She brought her over and he said, "Look, don't worry about it. I've been coming into them doors for the last 40 years. There's an ambulance driver coming over." She took his file and threw it down on the bed, and I just happened to arrive at the wrong time.
Very good. Yeah. Anyway, if you have no questions, just don't disappear. Have a chat amongst yourselves. It's great to have you come out. I'm sure there's great stories. If you could record them, it'd be brilliant. And thanks again for coming along.
Yeah, if I could just say a few words just before we finish, guys. Two things. We're going to obviously thank Paul for his work here, but maybe before we do, obviously there's a lot of ambulance drivers and emergency services people here today, men and women and sons and daughters of others and retired and whatever. So maybe if we just do a quick round of applause, I think we all really appreciate all the hard work that's been done by all the emergency services here. I think that's what it's all about. And, history comes in many forms. And in the Carlow Historical Society, we look at it in many different forms and captured in many different forms. But it's not an easy thing. We're all really grateful for all this sort of work because this is our social history as well. And it takes someone like Paul hours and hours and hours of dedication and meticulous research to bring it all together. And as he said, it's not lost. It's not just for tonight. It's kept, it's recorded, it's documented for future posterity, which is so hugely important for everybody. So on behalf of the Carlow Historical and Archaeological Society, I'd just like to extend a big vote of thanks to our speaker tonight, Paul Curran. And just one final word, there's some Carlovianas down the back, there's some membership forms if anybody's interested, and obviously, as always, the donation box is at the back as well. And like I said, we'd hope you'd stay around and mingle for a while, as Paul said as well, and get to talk to each other this evening.
I had to get 4 from my scrapbook of values. I just made